Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar where we'll conduct a live roadside inspection on 3 commercial vehicles. My name is Reynolds Whalen. I'm the Director of Sales Operations at Webber and Grinnell Insurance and Alera Group Company. And before I hand it over to the guys on site, I have a few housekeeping items that I want to go through. The first is we will be taking questions during this session. So there's a Q&A option on your screen if you look at the bottom. And when you pull that up, you can type in questions there. We'll respond to as many as we can using text, typing in the answer, and then some of them we'll bring to the floor for Jon Bates to answer live, will be the one conducting the inspections. So there's also a chat feature, but we prefer questions come into the Q&A because everyone can see the answers as we post them. The next item is closed captioning. So for accessibility purposes, we have enabled closed captioning. And so if you're seeing text at the bottom right now and you don't want to see that, you can click the CC at the bottom of the screen. Or if you're not seeing text right now and you do want to see it, you can also click that button to see the text as we're talking. This is being recorded, and we will share the recording with attendees after the fact. So you can reference that after the session. So a little word on the format here. We've got 2 of our staff on site at Roberts Energy and Brown Bear Transportation. I wanted to take a quick moment right here at the beginning to thank them very much for use of their space. It's very gracious of them, and not easy to find a place to park 3 commercial vehicles and do an inspection. And we're really thrilled they decided to let us come over there. They're a great client of ours, and feel free to get in touch with them with any of your energy needs. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to introduce our panelists. And I'm going to start with the man, the legend, Ralph Thresher. Say a quick hello, Ralph. Let's make sure your mic's working.
Hello, everybody.
Perfect. So Ralph is our senior safety consultant here at Webber and Grinnell. He works with our clients on DOT and OSHA compliance and helps build a safety culture to keep employees safe and reduce insurance costs. So Ralph has 35 years of experience as a safety consultant. He started his career at Aetna many years ago and was there for many years. So he has a solid understanding of insurance carriers and their appetites and how to make sure that we're staying compliant with everything and helping get those costs down by showing what you're doing to reduce losses. So during the webinar, Ralph's role, he's going to be the first in line to answer questions by typing responses as the questions come in and pushing them over to Jon if it's something he's not sure about or thinks would be better answered live. All right, so Matt, go ahead and turn on your video if you would. So next up, I'm going to introduce Matt Geffen, who's not on the screen at the moment, but there he is. So Matt's a partner here at Webber and Grinnell. He's the head of sales. He joined us in 2009 and is a trusted advisor to our clients, helps them protect their business, reduce loss frequency, and has a specialization. One of his specialization areas is trucking and transportation. So Matt's going to be behind the camera. He can answer any insurance specific questions at the end, but he's not on the hot mic, so you won't be able to hear him during the session. So any insurance questions that come in, we'll save those for the end. All right, and last but certainly not least, the man of the hour, the man, the legend, Jon Bates. So you're seeing on Matt's screen there, and shortly he'll fill the screen. So Jon is our transportation safety consultant. And before his recent retirement, he spent 26 years as a state trooper with the Massachusetts State Police, where he conducted over 10,000 inspections of commercial motor vehicles. So couldn't be in better hands for this session. He also spent 10 years as a CMV instructor and has multiple certifications, more than we have time to list here. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Sergeant Bates to get us started and take us through these inspections. Over to you, Bates.
You're live.
Hi, Jon Bates from Webber and Grinnell Insurance here at Roberts Energy. And I'd like to thank Roberts also for supplying us not only with the location, but with vehicles that we're going to be doing a walk around on. Today, we're going to concentrate on what is called the North American Level 2 inspection, which is a walk around inspection. You may or may not know there are many different levels of inspections that can be done on your vehicles. And just a little precursor on that is that you really have no control over whether you are going to get an inspection or not. And inspections can last anywhere. I've seen them go as quick as 10 minutes to several hours. All right. Today we are going to be looking at this trailer truck. And part of what we're not going to be doing, however, is this is a cargo tank. We are not doing a hazmat inspection today. We're using this because it's a truck and a trailer, and it's got many of the components are going to be the same, but we're not actually doing a hazmat inspection because of time. All right. So we also have a background. If you can see me in the background here, there's a box truck, and then we've got a smaller pickup truck with a trailer attached. We will be doing a walk around inspection on those also. A level 2 inspection incorporates most of the steps of a level 1 inspection. We don't go underneath the vehicle on a level 2. We're staying outside, standing up. And you'll see many people do it a little bit differently. I tend to bend down, look under. We'll not be getting on a creeper and going under, measuring brake stroke, things like that. All right, that's going to be the big difference between the level 1 and the level 2. Level 3 inspection is a driver-only inspection. Now, does that mean they won't be looking at your truck? No, they will be looking at your truck. But your drivers have to be. The biggest thing that driver can do for you as a company is be pleasant when they get stopped. All right, we know it's stressful. Every time you get stopped, there's stress involved. Try to impress upon your drivers that to be pleasant. That the officer, whether it be a trooper, a local officer, whether it be a federal motor carrier inspector, they should be pleasant to your driver. Your driver should be pleasant to them. That will make things go much smoother. Driver, could you hop in the truck for me? A lot of the prep work, we're not going to get into too much on what we're going to ask for, but if we come this way, when we approach this driver, I'm going to ask him, driver, can you grab me out your license, registration, shipping paper? May I open your door, driver? All right, get his door open. In this case, he's already showed me. They have a binder with all their paperwork in it right here inside the door. This makes things easy. All right, if your driver is handing me a pile of papers that are not sorted out, it's going to make the inspection take longer. Time is money. We want to get this going. They've got all their paperwork organized. It's going to make things easier for the inspector. It'll make things easier for your driver. I've already given the driver specific hand signals that I'm going to use during the inspection. Very important that your driver, especially if they've never had an inspection, knows what to expect. All right, so you can pass this information on to them. Don't be afraid. If you've got a question, you ask me, right? It's all about safety here. The vehicle's got the wheels chalked. We're in a safe condition here. We're going to basically start the inspection from after I've asked and got all his paperwork and I've dropped it off, whether it's at an inspection desk in a weigh station, whether it's in a cruiser, wherever it is, that paperwork will be secured away so that I've got my hands open. What I do have in my hands, this is the inspection procedure. This is for a level 1 though. 37 steps. Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance puts this out. It's in their out of service criteria, which you can purchase from them, but it's always going to be the same. I also tell people the inspection will be done the same. Have your driver do it the same. Start at the front of the truck, move counterclockwise, down the left side of the truck, around the back up the passenger side, and conclude in the front of the truck again. Your driver does it that way. Your driver should find all the things that inspector is going to find when he's doing an inspection. So at that point, let's get started. Driver, all your brakes are released? Good. Can you turn your key to the on position? It's on? Okay. shut that off one more time. And then turn it back on. Okay. Perfect. All right. Driver, high beams. Good. Turn signal. Four-way flashers. Driver, can you put your top lights on? Beautiful. Wipers with spray. Perfect. All right, at this point, we've looked at the basic lighting things in front of the truck. In Massachusetts, we have 2 plates. Most trailer trucks are going to have a single plate state. They will have that plate on the front of the truck. So now as we move, we're moving counterclockwise. First thing we're going to get to is a tire and wheel. So many different things to look at. You want to look at your tread wear. On the front steering axle, tread's got to be a minimum of 4/32 of an inch. And that's measured across in every major tread groove, okay? Make sure that your drivers are checking that out. Make sure your mechanics are checking that when it goes in. Check the sidewall. You shouldn't have any cuts, especially if you have material showing inside. If you can see metal through a cut in your sidewall, big red flag, all right? And that's gonna be a violation, all right? Next we move down, we're looking at the wheel. Aluminum wheels, I don't know if you've ever seen them, they do crack. So have your driver check, hands on. In this case, we've got these covers that are on the lug nuts. Your driver should be touching every single one of these lug nuts. In this case, we're not going to take them off because we don't remove parts during the inspection. But if you can see, in this case too, make sure they're putting hands on. All right, make sure that you've got this cap in the oil. If not, missing cap, you can see in, that's going to be an out of service violation. All right, shouldn't be leaking. You're going to have a little bit of weepage, but it should not be leaking. Make sure that your driver cleans this off. And what they can do, we teach not to take them out, okay? Because for obvious reasons, if dirt gets in here, it can contaminate the bearing. But it's got a little window, and you can see it fluid level through this little window on the side. All right, once we're done with that, we can see different aspects of the frame. Look, the frame is going to get checked. And I may not say this every time, but as I move along the side of this truck, I'm going to look at the frame in all the different spots where I can. I'm looking for cracks, places where it's been welded, dented, broken. It's critical that your drivers check this. Stairs, they should be mounted securely, right? I mean, this is how your driver is getting in and out of the vehicle, should be securely mounted. Def tank, it's not a fuel tank, that's a DEF tank, all right? They get treated differently than a fuel tank. Fuel tank's got to be securely mounted in a workmanlike fashion. It's got to have a cap on it, all right? Boom. As we move rearward, excuse me, again, checking the frame, looking at cross members. All these bolts have to be tight, all right? It's one of these things that you're going to have to get your drivers in the habit of doing, is checking them. All right. This is not a load. This is just one of the hoses. We're not going to get into that. As we move back and we look at the back of the tractor, certain things have to be there. I'm not sure if you can see it with the video, but there's going to be white reflective material at the top and in the side. That is supposed to be measuring the uppermost part of the tractor and the width of the tractor. Those are 2 by 12 inches. That is a statute. It's in the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard, but it's outlined in the federal statutes also. All right. Driver, can you shut off those white lights? All right. Another thing we're going to start, we're going to look at what's commonly called the pigtail. This is the electrical connection from the tractor to the trailer. Make sure it's not cut. Make sure it's fastened securely. All right. Brake lines. Brake lines should be up. They should not be rubbing on the deck here. Why? Because they can get flat spotted. That will be a violation on your vehicle. All right, we're gonna go up, and depending on, you're either gonna have tubing or you're gonna have brake hoses, all right? These are brake hoses. You may see the spiral type of thermoplastic tubing, all right? Both are acceptable. It's just two different types of hose, all right? On the thermo tubing, the tight linked one, you will see a difference. The spring protectors on the end are going to be longer, and there is in the statute that it has to go specifically into the first curve. It's got to have a tight section right up next to the glad hand. Glad hands have to be connected and not leaking. All right, as we're moving rearward, we start seeing different components. We're going to see brake components. All right, we've got air cylinders that are reservoirs for the braking system. All right, make sure that those are all connected. Brake lines, like here in this instance, all the lines are all contained together with a zip tie. All right, as we go in, this vehicle is equipped with disc brakes. All right, that will make your inspection go a little bit quicker. Why? Because it doesn't take as long to measure them. But I go hands-on with all these. I'm looking at the different suspension components, seeing if we've got any cracks in the springs. Again, brake canister, we've got the air brake, the air suspension system, making sure. I can see here that both those bags are inflated, which is a good thing. I'm going to also start looking at if I can see access into the brake drum and or the rotors, and we want to make sure that they're not rusted over. Why? Because that we've got rust on them. That's an indication that your brakes are not working. All right. As we move back, we're going to get to the next set of tires. All right. Typically a dual set. Make sure your drivers are, and people do it different ways. I do the open hand slap method. People use a little thumper club, hammers. They kick them with their feet. However it works for you, but make sure. I like the open slap method because if you got a flat tire, it's going to give you a good dead sound, and that's just what I'm accustomed to doing. In this case, again, lug nuts are all covered. I'm not going to remove these covers to test the lug nuts. All right, check the wheel, no cracks. That's just a scratch there. Make sure we don't check your sidewalls. If you get undulations in the sidewall, could be an indication that your tire is going bad. All right, on these tires, getting back on major tread grooves, once you leave the steering axle, we're down to 2/30. You're going to get 2/32 seconds of an inch. So you can wear these down further than you can wear your front tires down. All right, checking up underneath, we've got the fifth wheel, and that's how we're connected. All your fifth wheel bolt mounting bolts should be tight. All right. The slides, you got to have slides on the front and the back so that this will not. Make sure the handle is pushed in. I like to check it. And as long as this thing, you should not see any gaps between the upper and the lower fifth wheel plates. All right. And as we go back, again, another set of tires and wheels. Once you inspect the tire and wheels, it's going to be the same thing for every single tire and wheel. We're looking at tread depth. We're coming down. We're checking lug nuts. We're checking for cracks or broken pieces. All right. And as we slide back, mud flaps. Excuse me. If you look on this mud flap, there is retroreflective material on here. You are required, if this truck is bobtailing, you're required to have retroreflective material that shows the width of the vehicle. All right. This could be mounted someplace different. If you look in the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard, you'll find that it could be mounted up higher as long as you can see it from the rear when the vehicle is what they call bobtailing, no trailer attached. okay? But that has to be, I don't know, a lot of violations get written for this. It's a very, somebody breaks off a mud flap, they forget to put that reflective material back on and they get the violation. All right, driver, left turn signal, right, brakes, good, four-way flashers, good, put it in reverse. Can you put it in reverse? That's all right then. We're not going to start it up. All right. A lot of times they cannot put them in reverse without starting it. We're gonna bypass that today. Well, so we're checking all the lights. Now, whether this be a tanker, whether it is a box truck, whether it's a box trailer, a van trailer, or a flatbed trailer, they all have frames, and that frame is gonna get checked. We're seeing reflective material here. All of these regulations that say, okay, this has to be here, are in the federal regulations. There is a chart in chapter 393, and that will tell you what colors lights have to be, where the reflective material has to be. And on the trailer on the side, as you notice, it's all broken up, solid up front, broken gaps, and then gaps in the back. 50% of the length of the trailer has to be covered with this red and white pattern. You recall I mentioned on the back of the tractor, up top, it's just white. On the sides, it's red and white. It's 2 inches by 12. Well, 2 inch by 12 is that. This, if you had the whole piece going down, but it's going to be 2 inches wide. Again, if you want to read the regulation, feel free. You can go in. If you needed to put this on the side of a van trailer and there were rivets there, you could cut it and make 2 1-inch strips, but most people, you're going to see it this way. And the reason they don't put it the whole length is because the tape can get expensive. So it's 50% has to be there. But as your driver walks along, have him check, looking at the frame. What are we looking for? All different things. I could show you an example on this truck. You see rivets. Look for rivets that are popping out. Why? That's going to indicate that your sidewall is coming apart from the supports inside, and that will weaken the van trailer. All right, as we move back along the trailer, just keep checking. We're checking sides, looking for broken frame members, things like that. We get back to the second set of wheels. Looking from here, you can see in. And now we do not have disc brakes on this trailer. This is a regular drum style brake. There's still air brakes, but things that you can see from here. You see this, it's rusted. This inside here is where the parking brake spring is. Can have no non-manufactured holes in this. Reason being because there is a very compressed spring in there that's used to apply the emergency brakes. And if this outer cover is compromised, that spring could come out, and it's a very dangerous situation. All right, when I get back here, tires, again, 2/32 of an inch. We're not on the steering axle. But in this location, I can now see in between the tires and check the different wheel. Make sure that there's no cracks. All right, looking inside, if you can see different suspension components, make sure they're not cracked. If you've got springs in here that you can see, no cracks in the springs whatsoever. All right, and they can't be missing. So as we move around alongside, again, lug nuts. Every lug nut is going to get touched. That's not covered. In this case, we can see all of them. Good, all nice and tight. Check the wheel for cracks. None. Again. Now, the hub. In this case, I can see oil down in the bottom. This is good. Make sure your driver knows. If your mechanic is using grease, you won't see this oil in the bottom if it's an oil. And I have seen violations written for that, where the person actually used grease inside the hub, not oil. You will not see the oil there, and they were written a violation, but it's because they were using grease. So make sure your driver knows that, because It could happen on an inspection. It shouldn't happen, but it could happen. All right, check on all the wheels, make sure that they are no cracks again. Checking nuts and bolts, making sure that they're tight, looking for cracks. All right, and as we get back, ABS. All right, on a tanker. I don't know if you noticed that when I had the driver turn the key on and off, I looked back in this direction. What I was looking for was the ABS lamp. On tankers, it did not come on, which that would possibly be a violation. And the ABS system, depending on the year of your tractor, the year of your trailer, the system gets tested different ways. The typical way is you turn the key on in the tractor, it sends a signal back to this light. The light will light up shortly and then go out. All right. You notice this light says ABS on it. That's a requirement. If it's not printed on the ABS light, there should be a sign in close proximity to the light to tell the inspector.
You got a question?
Yeah, so we've got a question about landing gear, and does he check landing gear?
You check
What?
the landing.
Check the, yes, sorry, I kind of glossed over that, but yes. Landing gear should be up, should be free, clean, free of stones and debris, locked in place, depending on, again, if it was a hazmat inspection, there is a regulation that it can only be X amount of inches from the ground. But again, we're not doing the hazmat inspection here. So it should be raised so that for obvious reasons, it doesn't hit while your driver is in and out of garages, parking lots, things like that. Sorry about that. Thank you. Again, make sure you're checking the bearing housings for these. I didn't mention it. If this cap is missing, make sure your driver knows. Get a cap before they take off, because if you can view into the bearing, that would be an out of service violation. All right. We get to the back of the truck. And again, we're going to check all the lights, reflective material. Driver. Perfect. All right, so all his lights came on. You've got a plate light. Many plate lights do not work. Make sure you've got your license plate fastened to the rear of the trailer and that it is illuminated, all right? In this case, I will mention tail lights, and again, driver. Turn signals can be amber, all right? Tail lights cannot be. Tail lights are all red, turn signals can be red or amber. I've seen many trucks, trailers, they will change the tail lights to amber. I don't know why. One person said that's just what they liked, okay? The regulation 393 talks about lights, 393.11. There's a chart and it tells you how many you have to have, the location that they have to be, height above the ground, and maximum height, minimum height from the ground, and colors. All right. Back in the day, it was always said that if the light's there, it has to work. I'm not a proponent of that. You can add extra lights to your vehicle. Okay. Added lights do not have to be functional during the inspection. Required lights must be functional during the inspection. Okay. Make sure. So if you've got added lights that you put on for whatever reason, just because you like to have those extra lights, they are not required. They don't have to be working during the inspection. Okay. So rear impact guards, reflective material. All right. Every vehicle is going to have a rear impact guard unless it's exempt. For those of you that drive dump trucks, the rear wheels, they're called the wheel back vehicle, right? Those rear wheels are what are going to protect the vehicle from driving underneath the truck. If it's not a wheels back vehicle, then it's going to have a rear impact guard. And you've probably noticed some are narrow, some are wider. That goes by year. Know what year you have? Just go look at the regulation and it will tell you the max. It's going to have either be all the way to the end of the vehicle, or it's going to be cut loose, cut shorter. All right. You do have to have retroreflective material on your rear impact guard. If this was a box truck, you would, or a van trailer rather, you would also see it on the trailer itself. That is required. All right. Up top, we see the curved white retroreflective material. On a van trailer, that is going to be, again, 2 by 12, top and down. So it'll have the top marking the top, and then the outside widths of the trailer. That will be there. All right. Again, it's all white. Once we're done checking all the lights, and I did not mention the ID lamps, the 3 lights in the middle, ID lamps, vehicles 80 inches in width or more have to have those. And that's what that tells the inspecting officer. Hey, this vehicle, as some of you might know, some pickup trucks have them. When we get to this pickup truck that we're going to look at, it has them. Is it required to? No, because it's not over 80 inches wide. Vehicles over 80 inches wide, they are required. All right. Clearance lights. Clearance lights, again, you will find them down low. You will find them up high based on the regulation. And there are footnotes in the 393.11 table that will tell you where your clearance lights can and cannot be. All right. As we slide around the trailer, again, 4 more tires, most likely on the average semi-trailer. Again, doing the same thing. Lug nuts, wheels, no leaking oil from the hub, checking the tires, tread depth to 30/2 of an inch. Again, checking the frame components. Look back through. You get to get a look of the brakes on the other side. All right. Make sure that your slack adjusters are connected and not just hanging free. It happens. You would be amazed at some of the stuff that gets just blown over by a driver before they get into that vehicle. All right. Again, going up the side of the trailer is going to basically be the same thing that we looked at on the other side. You're looking at retroreflective material. We're checking the frame. So we can, again, during the hazmat inspection, I would concentrate more time here. We can blow past that because it's not hazmat. Getting back up to the opposite side. All right, again, we're going to move through looking at the tires, the wheels, just as we did on the other side. All right. If you've got more than one fuel tank, make sure that you're checking both of them. Make sure that they are securely connected and not leaking. You cannot have any dripping leaks. All right, exhaust. We're going to inspect the exhaust system, what we can see of it without going under the truck. All right, make sure that the clamps are tight. Make sure we don't have any holes. It shouldn't be in contact with anything that can burn. All right, most people know if you've got a leak in your exhaust, what do we see? We see a large black spot there. Key in on that. It means that we've got a leak somewhere. As we move forward, we're going to check, again, the last tire. This one, since we've got the lug nuts exposed, we're going to touch every one of them. Checking for oil. All right. Next thing we're going to do is going to have the driver come out and open up the hood for me. Driver, can you shut off all your lights? And can you open up the hood for me? Now, I said I wasn't going to go under the truck, and I'm not. However, there's a few things that we can check from topside. All right. We want to make sure, I always look, pitman arms. You can go hands-on here, checking the front frame up here, checking the springs, make sure that those springs are not cracked, loose, anything like that. Again, we've got disc brakes on the front. Driver, just rock your wheel left and right for me. Oh, sorry. Okay, good. All right. All mounting brackets for all the steering components should be tight, no loose nuts. Boom. At this point, what we would next do is I would check the tractor protection system. We're not going to have the driver. I will explain how that gets done, but I'm not going to have the driver do it. For checking the tractor protection system, you have a tractor protection valve, and that's there in case you had a catastrophic loss of your trailer and your air lines get broken between the tractor and the trailer. Okay, what's supposed to happen is that should shut off. In this case, I would have the driver come out and remove the glad hands from the truck. Some drivers don't like to do it. They think that it's dangerous because when the brakes are released, that means we've got air pressure in one of the lines. All right, the service side will come right up. Boom. When you pull that other glad hand off, all the air is going to be released. You'll hear your brakes set on your trailer. Okay, that should happen. That's one of the things to listen for. And once those set, the air will stop. The tractor protection valve will close, or you can leave that open. And at some point, your dash valves are going to pop. Okay, if they don't pop, that's a problem. It means the tractor, that's one of the indicators. The other thing is going to be this. Once the air stops coming out, you have the driver step on the brake. There should be no release of air through the glad hands. All right. If there is, again, it means your tractor protection valve is not working. Okay. Steering wheel lash. Steering wheel lash is how much that steering wheel moves. And to test that, what I would do is, and I try not to mark it, I put a little piece of tape. Some people will use a little piece of chalk. You put a mark on your steering wheel. And with the truck running, you have the driver start moving the wheel. As soon as that wheel starts moving, stop moving the steering wheel, it gets marked. The measurement between those two marks is the lash. Now, there is two different numbers that you have to be cognizant of. The maximum that you can have with it not being a violation, and the number that will put you out of service. And the out of service criteria has that table in it. The regulation, the 393 for steering components, has the breakdown of both numbers. Okay, so it's important to do. Most people just don't do that, but it is something that is important that can jam you up with another violation. The last component that we would check after we're going to get him the glad hands put back on is the fifth wheel movement. A lot of inspectors don't do this. Again, a lot of inspectors don't check inspection. What we're going to do is that we would set the trailer brakes, remove the chalk blocks from the tractor. We're going to have the driver start the truck up, take a strain, so pull forward, taking a strain with the fifth wheel on the kingpin. Don't try to pull the trailer just so that you pull that tractor up against the kingpin. At that point, set the brakes, re-chalk the wheels, gonna mark the fifth wheel components. I would mark between the upper and the lower plates, the pivot pin in the slider. All right. Now we would re-chalk the wheels, have the driver restart the truck, push back against the kingpin. As soon as he's pushed back against the kingpin, chalk the wheels, shut the truck off, and measure any difference in the movement. Critical is that the movement, there can be some, it's small, okay? The out of service criteria has got the amount that it can move maximum. You should never get written a violation for fifth wheel movement unless your vehicle's being put out of service for that movement, all right? It's not a violation until the out of service criteria limit is met, okay? That's important. And then at that point, paperwork would be completed, whether it's a clean inspection, whether it's an inspection that has violations, those will get written up. And yes, you may or may not get a citation with this inspection. But what you will get if you do have violations are CSA points, okay? And CSA points, we want to keep that number as low as we possibly can. And we do that by having clean inspections. Every violation is going to carry some type of CSA point to it. And when you are going for your insurance renewal, those numbers are going to get looked at, and you may not be able to get insurance. No, the underwriter may not want to write you a policy, or they were going to increase the amount of money that policy is going to cost you based on your CSA points. So it's very important to have your driver do a very good pre-trip inspection, post-trip inspection, and your mechanics, that if the driver comes and says, hey, I've got a problem with unit number 3, that unit number 3 gets taken care of, because the time to catch it is while we're in the yard, not while we're out on the road with an inspector putting it on paper. All right, are there any questions?
Give just a minute here to see if anyone has questions before we move over to the box truck. Not seeing any, so let's move on.
Box truck? Okay. What's that? We're good with him, yeah. Okay, box truck. Basically is going to be the same type of inspection, all right? We minus a trailer. So if you've got a box truck, your inspection should take significantly less time, but that's based on the condition of your box truck. Again, the first steps are always going to be the driver will be contacted, the driver will be spoken to, paperwork will be gathered, and the driver will be prepped for the inspection. Again, the inspection is going to start at the front of the truck. Okay? We're going to run through the same things we did before. All the lights are checked, the wipers. In this case, you see again, we've got clearance lights and ID lights on the top of this. I didn't mention mirrors on the last inspection, but you've got to make sure your mirrors are in good condition. They're securely mounted. That's what the driver's using to see down the left and right side of their vehicle. But so start at the front. We're going to move around this vehicle. Same thing, tires, 432nd tread wear. And that, I didn't mention in the last one, but that's in any groove. It doesn't matter if you've got 8/32 measurement in 3, and then you've got 3/32 in the 4th one. That means that tire is now done, okay? It's any one place. Same thing is that if you, on a trailer, say your driver dragged the trailer and flat spotted it. That means that tire is done. Okay, if it's below 2/32 of an inch, and I'm not going through the whole out of service criteria because there's specific things that have to be met in that criteria. But question? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have two questions, and the first is, are you required to have heat and or AC in vehicles?
Are you required to have heat or AC in vehicles? Is it
Oh.
when it's inspected?
No.
That's not a requirement.
No, it's you know, it's interesting because I had one person and they stopped me and asked me to do an inspection on their truck because their seat had holes in it. And the vehicle ended up getting a CVSA decal on it. But yeah, there's nothing that says you have to have AC or heat. I mean,
Creature
it's
comfort.
kind of nice for your drivers. I mean, a happy driver is going to take care of your truck a little bit better. So, I mean, I would do everything that I can.
We got one more. Go ahead, Reynolds.
Yeah, does the trooper check the fire extinguisher, chalk blocks, and flares or triangles? And if so, what's required for those?
Does the trooper check the chalk blocks, the fire extinguishers, flares, triangles?
Yes.
And what's required of them?
Okay, yes, that all, and I'm sorry, I glossed over that also. Fire extinguisher. Every commercial vehicle has to have a fire extinguisher, chalk blocks. Now, I say chalk blocks because there are some vehicles, some trailers, if you have like heavy hauler trailers, they don't necessarily have spring brakes. So on a truck that has positive, can get away without, but it depends on your state too. Massachusetts state regulation, we require you to have chalk blocks in every commercial motor vehicle. Safe bet, put chalk blocks in your vehicle. Fire extinguisher, you can have the different sizes. 10 BC is the standard size, and that's required if you have any hazmat on board. And that's the average small fire extinguisher that you're going to see. That's going to be the minimum is a 10 BC. And emergency devices for the back. I don't know too many people that carry flares anymore. I know all the troopers still carry flares, but the average truck, your money's probably better spent going out and spending the $20, $25 on a little box with 3 emergency triangles in there. They don't go bad because if you're going to put fuses in your flares in your truck, you have to have enough flares for the full time that you're stopped on the side of the road. So you're probably better off getting the plastic emergency triangles. Teach your drivers. There's actually in the specification, in the regulation, it will tell you how far behind your vehicle they have to be. So that's the best way to go. Also teach them. I have seen guys that put the first triangle over next to the guardrail and they brought them out. No, you want to start, first one behind the truck is going to be closest to the fog line. Then you will taper it back. You want the drivers that are coming up behind you, and we all know that not everybody pays attention while they're driving. So you want them to see that, and it should lead them away from your vehicle, not lead them into it, okay? So it should be at an angle. The furthest one away will be the closest to the guardrail. And then the next one, probably the middle of the breakdown lane, and the last one closest to the fog line, okay? Is that good? Any
Good, Reynolds?
okay. Going back, something I didn't mention, but I will mention it here. Every truck is going to have some type of sticker that tells us what this vehicle is rated for. In this case, gross vehicle weight rating, 26,000. All right, 26,000 pounds even, non-CDL vehicle. So you don't need a CDL license to drive this. You would still need a medical card, but you don't need a CDL license. Okay, so that's critical for you to know, unless you overload it. That issue just came up. Now, if you overload it, there's a whole nother issue in that this vehicle can never be made unless absence putting hazmat in it. We could make it a CDL vehicle. But if we load this vehicle to 26,500 pounds, the officer weighs you up. He's going to say, okay, you're now a CDL vehicle. Well, you can't drive it anyways because you're exceeding the gross vehicle weight rating. So, but you're probably going to get a violation. Your driver will be placed out of service for driving a CDL vehicle because the weight exceeded the 26,000 pounds. But you're also going to get a weight ticket because you're 500 pounds overweight. So don't overload your vehicles. Make sure your drivers know that sticker's in there for a reason. That's the maximum this vehicle can ever be weight-wise. Okay? All right.
You got another question?
Yeah.
Question, are tire ratings compared to the door tag?
Are tire readings compared to the door tag?
Tire ratings are on the door tags. Yes. Is that?
Do they compare them to what's on the vehicle? Probably not.
Some do, some don't. Okay. I mean, there are, I tell people, and we'll use this for an example. Pickup trucks is where I would see it more often than not. Most trucking companies replace the tires with the tires that came on it. If you're a company that is using smaller vehicles, that's where the tires tend to change. And if you have, and let's use Ford for an example. If you have a Ford F-350 Super Duty, you go out, you buy new tires, and depending on where you buy tires, they may or may not put the same exact tire on your vehicle. You have to be careful. If those tires rub together, that's an out of service violation. They can't rub against each other. They can't rub against the vehicle, but you'll see that. Some people will go with a lower profile tire. And what happens then is when they put more weight in the vehicle, that vehicle sits down lower, the tire bulge will touch together, and that would be a violation. Not only a violation, an out of service violation. Okay. Again, fuel tank here. If you've got an older vehicle, I see it a lot. I used to see it a lot on a lot of dump trucks. Underneath the band material is where you would end up getting a leak. So make sure if your vehicle is older, obviously in this truck, fairly new, it's nice and clean. Stairs are solid. Fuel tank is all set. All right, we didn't mention the battery box. This battery is covered, okay? It's got to have this cover on there, or it's got to be covered from the elements. It shouldn't be out in the elements. Now, if that battery was here, it's undercover, that would suffice also. All right. Again, I said I'm not going under the vehicle, so I'm not going to. However, a lot of box trucks, I've seen so many violations. These brackets will become loose sometimes. Make sure your driver is touching those, because if that's loose, that's a violation. Again, go down, check the frame. We're looking for bends, cracks, twisting, things like that. In this case, we can see the drive shaft. Okay. If I was on my creeper, I would be moving this back and forth, touching all the nuts that are on there, but you can see them if they're loose. Make sure that the bearings, if you go in, you can move that drive shaft up and down. Your mechanic should be checking those things to make sure that the bearings aren't worn out. Make sure that they get greased properly. All right. Again, from here, springs. Make sure your mechanic or your driver is looking. These springs will typically, especially in the back, more often than not, I would see the cracks in between the U-bolts. All right. Got to get down there and check it out. All right. Again, check the wheels. We're back here on the tires and wheels again. a big indicator, tires will tell you so much about your vehicle. If you've got uneven tread wear, you probably have something going on with your suspension. Have your mechanic check that out. It could be whether it's a spring loose, whether it's a shock absorber that's gone bad, whatever it is. But you'll see it in your tires first. And tires are not cheap anymore. All right. Again, lug nuts. It always surprised me when one of my guys would get something, they'd say, hey, I just got this guy. He's got 4 lug nuts that are loose. And I say, hey, ask him if he just had a brake job done. And sure enough, he had a brake job and they didn't retorque the lug nuts. It happens, okay? As we move back, reflective material. The 393 chart will tell you where your reflective material has to be on the vehicle, okay? Again, we don't have a driver in here. Now, one of the differences you're gonna see, no reflective material up top. It's not required on the box trucks, but you are gonna have to have it down here. Doesn't have to be across the whole width on this truck, but you're gonna have to have it. Also, what they call a multi-purpose light, right? Those of you that know, tail light, turn signal, backup lamp, and reflector all in one, all right? And you to look on the bottom, it's got a clear section down here that allows the license plate to be lit, all right? Rear impact guard, this vehicle has got it's split up because of the lift gate, thank you. All right, boom, and away we go. Clearance lights and ID lights up top, just make sure all those are working. And then we work our way around the truck. Again, this does not have to have, box trucks do not have to have reflective material at 50%. Based on the size of the truck will dictate if you are going to need one in the center, okay? It's all based on the size of the vehicle, all right? Again, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to check your tires and wheels, check the frame, look at the springs, and move your way along the vehicle. Get to the other side, the fuel tank. Mirrors are on solid. Inspection stickers, all right? Every year here in Massachusetts, you're required, when you look at your vehicle, now for a truck like this, it's not even gonna come into question at 26,000 pounds. When we get over there, we're gonna talk about the inspection sticker a little bit more because there are things that you should be looking for. If you could see this up top, right above the number in Massachusetts, it says commercial. Okay, so this vehicle had a commercial inspection. That meets the requirements of the federal regulations if you're going interstate, okay? And we ended up back up here. Again, I would have the driver open the hood, check if it's a hydraulic system, if it's air system, checking fluid levels, make sure that we've got, because there are violations for not having power steering fluid. All right, now from the box truck, we're gonna move to the pickup truck.
We got a question.
Oh,
John.
yeah.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank G&H Landscaping for providing this last truck. I neglected to do that at the beginning, so another valued client of ours wanted to make sure we said a thank you for providing this vehicle.
We were just shouting out to G&H.
Oh. All right. G&H Landscaping has graciously decided to come down and be subjected to an inspection. So thank you very much. All right, the pickup truck. This is where people get confused with the regulations. Why? I don't own a pickup truck. I own a Suburban. Suburban could be a commercial motor vehicle, but it is not necessarily a commercial vehicle. If we look in the parking lot here, we've got many pickup trucks. They're pickup trucks. They're not commercial motor vehicles. But now what is the vehicle being used for? In this case, It's labeled. Oh,
You got a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I missed a question back at the end of the box truck, which is, do you check for unsecured cargo inside the box truck?
Question on the box truck is, do you check for unsecured cargo in
Ah.
the box truck?
yes. Yes. All right. And I did not go over that. If we had didn't have the lift gate there, I would open it up. What's that? You want to open it? Is there anything in it?
You can just
All right, we can,
answer it.
yes. All right. Load securement is a 4-hour class. I'll tell you right now, it takes up 4 hours about in the classroom when we are teaching new ones. And I used to be an instructor, and about 4 hours just for load securement. Now, the regulation, and I'm not going to quote it because I don't memorize everything, but the regulation says that everything in or on a vehicle must be secured to the extent that maneuverability will not be affected by the vehicle. Here's another good rule of thumb. And I actually used this example earlier today, is that there are some inspectors that say everything in that box truck has to be secured. I read the regulation differently. And that if we put 5 boxes of feathers in the back of that box truck, the box truck in and of itself will contain those feathers. Those, even if all 5 boxes that weigh a pound apiece slide to one side of the truck, it's not going to affect the maneuverability of that truck. Now, that being said, how do you secure stuff in the back of a box truck, a van trailer? We use straps, load bars, we use friction mats, okay? Based on the whatever you are moving, you can use all of those, you can use some of those. I don't know if there's anybody on who moves rolled paper. Rolled paper uses, for the most part, friction mats. And all that is a rubber mat that gets laid on the deck, and it's good for 50%. The whole thing with load securement is 50%. When I say that, 50% of the weight of whatever you're moving has to be secured. So if you're moving a flashlight that weighs 10,000 pounds, you have to have 5,000 pounds worth of tie downs on it. Okay. Now we also get into length, because the length is going to matter. For those of you that move wood, if you have a 10-foot pallet of 2x4s, right? It's not blocked against the header. You've got to put one tie down for the first 10 feet, then one tie down for the next 10 feet or portion thereof. The minute you go over 10 feet, say you went out to 12 feet, you got to add another. If you're at 10 feet and 1 inch, you have to add another tie down. So, but that regulation, and I'm going to put it out there, that if you have specific questions about what you are moving, how you're moving it, how you're securing it, you get in touch with either Reynolds, Ralph, myself. I will get you the answers that you're looking for. So, but a good safe practice is this: if it can come off your vehicle and hurt someone else, secure it. Okay. If you put it in the back of that truck, and I have seen boxes, 5,000 pound crates of copper. They slide. Everybody thinks that gravity does work, but it works if I drop this flashlight. It will make it to the ground. Okay. Gravity doesn't work for securing items in your vehicle. So if that item can slide and affect maneuverability, it's got to be secured. If the truck will, in and of itself, won't contain it, it's got to be secured.
Got another question.
Yep.
Yeah, one more on the box truck, which is, does reflective material have to be on the ICC bumper or lower rear impact bumper?
does the reflective material have to be on the lower ICC bumper or impact bumper on the
Different on the box truck. Box truck, it's not required. You have to go into the chart, the 39311 chart, and look at that. And it will tell you where those things have to be on the different vehicles. Every vehicle is different where it has to be.
Okay, we'll send that chart out. All right.
Yeah, we'll send that chart. Thanks,
Multi-pages.
Matt. Good to go.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
All right. So now we're going to get to the pickup truck. And let's start with that inspection sticker, even though that was on the end when we come around. Oh. This is a good example. All right. In this case, this vehicle has a non-commercial inspection sticker. Okay. Why would that happen? Is it the company's fault? Is it the inspector's fault? The reason that happened, and I'm actually kind of glad it did, because this truck is beautiful and I didn't think I would find anything on it. So come with me, please. May I open your door? All right. When we look at this truck, Matt, can you get a shot here? And I knew what this was going to be because it's an F-250 Super Duty. We're looking right up here, top right corner. GVWR, 10,000 pounds. When this vehicle goes into an inspection station, if this vehicle was owned by Jon Bates, non-commercial inspection sticker all day long. However, because this vehicle is being used in commerce with a trailer, this has to get the federal inspection. So this should have a commercial inspection sticker on it, okay? Thank you. I'm glad we had something that we could show. All right, vehicles have to be marked. Good example. I didn't talk about markings on the last trucks, but they've got to be marked. It doesn't have to have your address. It doesn't have to have your phone number. It's got to have the legal company name that you've put to DOT in your DOT number, preceded by USDOT. It must have all 5 of those letters there also. Everybody asks, how big? It's got to be legible from 50 feet while the vehicle is stationary. So it's got to be contrasting color. The white on the green, beautifully contrasting, okay? You think those are legible from 50 feet away? Yeah, I'd say they probably are. Even I could probably read them with my glasses off, okay? So that's what's got to be on there. The legal name, the DOT number preceded by the letters USDOT. This guy still needs the same things. He's got to have a flashlight. I mean, it's a flashlight. I've got the flashlight. He's got to have fire extinguisher, emergency triangles. Anybody that drives this, once he puts the trailer on it, without a trailer, it's not a commercial motor vehicle anymore for DOT purposes. Not about registration purposes. That's a whole nother ball of wax, okay? But for DOT purposes, minus a trailer, this is only 10,000 pounds. All right, so it's not over the 10,000. But the way it's set up right now, whoever drives this does need a medical card. Okay, and I should say medical cards are good for a maximum of 2 years. Another thing I'm going to talk about while we're talking about drivers is this. It is legal in Massachusetts to partake of cannabis. It is not legal for your drivers, okay? Doesn't matter if they have a medical card. If you are involved in commerce, they're in a commercial motor vehicle or combination greater than 10,000 pounds, they cannot use marijuana, okay? Cannot be in the vehicle. I don't care if they have a medical card or not. It cannot be in there. Alcoholic beverages cannot be in there. If you send your drivers away on Monday morning, put them up in a hotel, and they come home on Friday, okay? Don't have them have a cooler with beers in the back. Can't have it, okay? The other thing about that is that we didn't talk about hours of service. Everybody who drives a commercial motor vehicle is subject to hours of service. This guy, the landscaper, typically an hourly worker, they're going to get the 150 air mile exception, which is a very good thing. If you can use it, I recommend using it. The instance that I gave where this guy gets in the truck on Monday, you send him out of town, he's not coming back to the same location, that guy needs a logbook, even in a pickup truck.
Question.
Yes.
It's a question about CBD oil and how that's classified.
Is CBD oil the same as?
Yes. If it's got any THC in it at all, you can't use it. So CBD, if it's absence if there's any THC in it at all, you can't use it. Okay, so we're going to do this inspection the same basic way. One of the biggest things, would you mind hopping in for me? One of the differences is going to be, and I saw more trucks get put out of service for this than any other. Matt, come here, please. What I'm gonna have you do is just turn the key on. I want you to get it. Can you get a view of the dashboard?
Yep.
Oh, shut that off again. This vehicle has hydraulic brakes. Turn the key on. The brake, where's the brake light? I can't see it from where I'm vertically challenged. The brake light must come on. With hydraulic brake vehicle, that's the indication that the brake system is testing itself. If that light doesn't come on, that's a violation, okay? You're going to get placed out of service for that. But same thing, fire extinguisher, make sure it's secured in there. Triangles, they've got to have them. As we go down the vehicle, we're going to do the same things we've done before. We're going to check the tires, and it's the same whether it's a tractor trailer truck or this pickup truck. 430 seconds minimum. Now, if you do a state inspection, they're going to give you 230 seconds. But for federal, it's going to be 430 seconds on the steering axle, 230 seconds back here. All right, again, we're going to check the springs and all of that. Run through all the lights, same as before. What's interesting about this trailer, and I was asked to make sure that I go over this. This vehicle has got electric brakes. This is the actuator for the electric brake system. This right here, do not connect this to the breakaway cable, to the breakaway chain rather, all right? We're gonna hook it. This has to get hooked to the truck in and of itself. Oh, it's not gonna fit there, so that's on the, if he loses that, he's losing the whole trailer anyway. So we're going to talk to him about that. We're going to fix where that goes also. All right. But that should not be hooked to the safety chain. The other thing is this, how to test the system. A lot of people don't know it. First thing we're going to do when we're going to test the electric brakes on this trailer is remove the pigtail. All right. Now, once this is, and I'm not going to pull it out because I've broken them before and I don't want to have to buy this one, is that this gets pulled out, okay? All that's in this little box is a little electric contacts that will go together. There's a 9-volt battery somewhere, probably in here, or 12-volt battery rather. There's a 12-volt battery in here that's going to power the brakes. And actually, this one has got a battery and all. This has got a little test switch on it, so which is showing good, right? They just tested that out, and the battery shows good. So once you pull this out, electric brakes are going to activate. That put the truck in drive, and just let it try to roll forward. All right. It doesn't say that the tires have to lock up. It just says that they have to apply. Okay. Should be able to hold it in whatever condition where it's sitting. And it only has to last 15 minutes. Let's face it. A lot of these batteries are small little that your kids will steal to put in their ATVs. All right. Not steal. They borrow them to put in their ATVs. All right. Make sure your drivers are checking that, your mechanics checking that, okay? Again, pintle hooks. This is what's known as a pintle hook. It's got to be secured. even if that just pops up like that, no good. Replace it. Okay. All right, we'll do that. We'll do that after. Anyways, same thing. Retroreflective material, different on different trailers. All right, we're gonna come back. Tires, 230 seconds. Wheels, make sure they're not broken. Big problem on small trailers like this is the cap into the bearing. This gets abused. All right, make sure that those are there. Again, that would put your vehicle out of service. All right, if you can see into the bearing cap. Check all the lug nuts, make sure they're on. All right. Lights, light on the plate. I don't love the way the plate is, but it's on there. It's going to be lit when it was lit earlier. Check all the brakes, all the lights, turn signals, four-way flashers, all have to be functional. All right. This trailer also needs a federal inspection. All right. Registered in Massachusetts. Massachusetts inspection does not have to be on the trailer, but it has to be with the trailer. Okay. And the Massachusetts, again, a commercial inspection on the trailer. And this trailer's in wonderful shape. But check this, make sure we're checking the springs, tires, wheels, hubs. It all gets checked all the way around the vehicle. And we work our way back up the other side and complete the paperwork for the inspection. Questions?
Gas cans and
Gas, okay, yeah, let's talk about gas cans. All right. If you're a small company, non-hazmat company, you still may use hazardous materials, whether you're a power wash person, landscaper, construction company. Gasoline gets used in internal combustion engines. Believe it or not, if you're a car hauler, an internal combustion engine, an automobile engine, is considered a non-bulk hazardous material. Now, there's an exception that will get you out of the majority of the book for that. Landscapers. The one single biggest problem that I would have encountered with landscapers was gasoline containers. And why is that? If you go in my garage, you're going to find two different kinds of gas cans. One of them is from the 80s. It still has a mass badge on it, looks emblem, that was from the fire marshal's office, and it was a fire marshal compliant gasoline container. Okay, that's great for me, Jon Bates, just as a guy that's filling up a 2-gallon gas can, or one, I think it's a 1 gallon, to fill my lawnmower. But I also have a 5-gallon steel OSHA compliant spring loaded gas can that I purchased. Yes, it was $70. They're expensive. The hazmat regulation book is about that thick. Now, if you do materials of trade, small amounts of hazardous materials used in day-to-day operation of your business, you get into what's chapter 176, 173.6. So 173.6. And that's about a page and a half long, that one regulation. But what that regulation will tell you specifically about gasoline containers is that they must be metal or plastic. It either has to conform to the subchapter. The subchapter is the whole book, or it's got to be OSHA compliant. Now, a specification number, a specification package is a package that would conform to the whole subchapter, okay? And an easy way to look at this is if you go somewhere where you've got a 55-gallon drum of oil or windshield washer. The windshield washer fluid is actually a flammable. It will have a series of numbers where the beginning is an UN in a circle and then a series of letters and numbers next to that. That is telling you the specification that that package was made to. Okay? If you don't have that number on your gasoline can, then it's not a specification package. Okay? The only way to get around having gasoline as a material of trade is if you've got an OSHA compliant gas can, if it's not a spec can. So my thing to people are, and I mean, I hear it all the time, like racing cans. Somebody knows what a racing container is. And what that is, a lot of people that ride dirt bikes, they buy a 5-gallon gasoline container. They typically will put a clear plastic spout, or they come with a clear plastic spout, and they'll use that. I see them on landscape trailers every day. They're not legal. All right. Here's a good way to look at it. Yes, the gas can that I bought at Home Depot for $70 was expensive. If you are in business and you get stopped and you have 2 of them, you can be written $1,000. You can buy a lot of gasoline cans for $1,000. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Can a driver carry DEF fluid in the cab?
Can a driver carry DEF fluid in the cab?
Yeah. That's DEF fluid is not a hazardous material.
Other questions?
Yeah, we got 2 more here. Where should they keep the registration and inspection on the trailer?
Where should they keep the registration and inspection on the trailer?
It's got to be with the trailer. It doesn't say. Like in this case, let's see. Is it in? Oh, he's got it right in here. So it's all in something like that. Keep it someplace where it's going to be protected. Why? Obviously, because it's paper. But make sure your drivers know that it's there. Make sure that that gets checked, right? It's, hey, I got into my, you know, I was a cop for 26 years. I got in my kid's car the other day and his inspection sticker had been expired for 3 months. You know, it's like, I can't fix that.
All right, we got another one. Go ahead, Reynolds.
Yeah, actually 2 more. Can you talk about gas can securement in the trucks and or landscape trailers?
Can you talk about gas can securement in the trucks or on a trailer for landscape?
Okay, yeah, good question. All right. All hazardous materials, it's first off, that can, whether it's plastic or metal, it's got to be non-leaking, can't be leaking. So, hey, I was a laborer before I was a police officer. Yes, that 5-gallon gas can where somebody pops a hole in the back because they wanted the gas to come out faster, throw it in the dumpster. Okay. But yeah, when they're secured, it says the way the regulation is written is that it says there can be no relative motion between the hazardous material and the vehicle, or the hazardous material and any other hazardous material. Now, I used to use this as an example. If I set this flashlight here, is that relative motion? Yes. If I can take this flashlight and go like that, that's relative motion. Now they've come out with there's no regulation, so it's going to be based on the inspector. If you've got a box that the gasoline container will fit in, and it's not going to move much in that, it's going to, then do it. I've seen people use old milk crates where they screwed them to the floor of the trailer, put the 5-gallon pail in. I've seen other people where they built a wooden rack across the front of their trailer. My recommendation would be is that if you know how many gasoline containers you carry, if you always carry 4, then have a spot built for 4. If it's just big enough to fit those 4 gasoline containers in, put a strap over the top, whether it's a piece of rope or something like that. The biggest thing you can do for your company is make it easy for your driver. because if it's easy, they'll do it. Human nature is sometimes to be lazy.
Got another one. Go ahead, Reynolds.
Yeah, we have a couple coming in, and this is a good transition. We're in a Q&A part of this. We've got 5 more minutes, but we will answer all the questions, even if it goes over, and people can watch the recording later if they have to bounce. So are cargo nets required in the bed of the truck?
Cargo nets required in the bed of the truck.
No. But here's the thing. Nothing in here. Now, this would be another instance where inspectors use their discretion in writing a violation. If you put a poly rake in the back of this truck and you're going down the highway, might it blow out? It's possible. It's possible that that could blow out. If you put an iron rake in here, it probably wouldn't. If I looked in the back and I saw an iron rake laying there, I would never have written that as a violation. There are officers that will. The safest bet is set your vehicles up so that there's no question. All right. Make it easy on yourself, because I don't always agree with how violations are written. But that was over, somebody who's done 10,000 inspections. So.
Go ahead, Reynolds, next one.
Yeah, when would you need to have an inspection book for this vehicle?
When would you need an inspection book for this vehicle?
Never. Here's the thing. Anybody who drives a commercial motor vehicle must do a pre-trip inspection. Never has to be written, but you have to do it. Post-trip inspections. All right. Post-trip inspection must be written if there's a problem. If there's no problem, you don't have to write it down. I don't recommend keeping them in the trucks. Why? Because as a former officer, whatever information is in that truck, I would use against your company. Okay. So if you've got an inspection book that's sitting there and your driver put in that, I don't know, left ball joint was loose or felt loose, that's going to give that inspector something else to go look at that he may not have looked at before. I would recommend don't keep them in the truck. Keep them at the shop, or if your drivers are taking their vehicles home, then, yeah, keep it in the glove box, I guess. But in that case, if he finds something wrong, he's got to bring it to the shop anyways. So I don't recommend giving an inspector more ammunition to use against you than you have to. There's nothing that says it has to be there.
Yeah, so 2 more questions that might be it, but we'll see. What weight is a trailer required inspection? Is it over 3,000 pounds GVWR? Or if the trailer is used in commerce with a combination over 10,000 pounds?
Required to have an inspection over 3,000, or is there a weight requirement?
For the federal inspection, feds, it's no weight. Doesn't matter what the weight is. Okay. So it's anything. You have a trailer, it has to be inspected. If you're involved in interstate commerce, and Massachusetts has adopted that.
Okay, next question, Reynolds.
Yeah, the question says quantity requirements maximum. And I don't know if John understands that or if we need more information.
Requirements maximum.
What's that?
Is there a maximum on the quantity that's required
for
hazmat, I guess?
Oh yeah, good question. I'm sorry.
Fuel.
You can go up to 440 pounds combined hazmat before you get. That's to stay inside the materials of trade. So if you're a good example is the construction company that does blacktop maintenance, it has an infrared heater. Okay. Those will typically have 3 to 4 to 5 100-pound cylinders. Okay. Make sure you weigh those, because make sure that 100 pounds, if you've got 400-pound cylinders and that combined weight is over 440 pounds, now you're falling into placarding. shipping papers, CDL requirements, all of it. I would get rid of one container if I could to stay outside that reg. I'm big on you do whatever you can do to minimize the number of regulations that you have to fall under. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. You're just under them. But for smaller, like for a landscaper, we can get you out of a lot of regulations, just and get you into that 1.5 pages of materials of trade.
Any other ones, Reynolds?
Yeah, if the company requires you to do free trips documented on the tablet as a driver, are you required to show that to the inspector if he or she asks?
If you are required to do pre-trips on a tablet, are you required to show that to the inspector?
No.
No.
All right. We'll give it another just a few seconds here. That was the last question I saw. If anyone has anything else, now's the time. We'll give it just a minute if people are typing.
And
here.
again, put it out there that you guys, if questions come up, because I know we went pretty quickly doing this. Any questions, please reach out to us. I'm more than happy to answer the questions. And I don't, I'm not a guy that really likes to shoot from the hip. If you come to my house, you're going to find, even in the back seat of my car, I've got a hazmat regulation and a regular regulation book, in and out of service criteria. At my house, I have multiples of them. I'm the guy that will probably not give you an answer right off the top of my head, because I want to make sure that I give you the right answer. Okay, because that's critical.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going to wrap this up. I just want to give a real special thank you to you, Jon, for your hard work on this and so much knowledge you've packed into this 1.5 hours. And as Jon's saying, he's a member of our team. And if you have any other questions, he'd be happy to answer them. And you're really getting a window into what we provide to our clients and the expertise and the knowledge there. It's a really valuable service, and we really appreciate your time, Sergeant Bates. So thank you so much. And again, a thank you to Roberts Energy and Brown Bear Transportation and G&H Landscaping for providing vehicles in the space. We will follow up with a recording as well as some links and other materials that will help you with inspections. And we're always open for questions via email or phone call. And thank you everyone for attending. And we'll let you know when we've got the next one on the books. So thanks so much. Take care, everybody.